So today's job is to replace the heating water pump on the red 124 project. There's two reasons that I'm replacing it. This rear bearing has seized in the past, and currently the shaft seal is actually leaking, so it's end of life. You can't fix that, not easily anyway. And I know someone will ask, but this is the Bosch part number for the current replacement part. It is best to search by that number. There seems to be better priced results than looking for the W124 specific part number. And I am pleased to report it definitely is made in Germany. There are several different versions of this pump available for other manufacturers with a different end cap. So you could probably get the same pump for half the price if you're willing to adapt the cable to use like a GM style connector. So removal of the pump is pretty straightforward. The original pump's connector is clipped on the side. We're not going to need that clip anymore, so that will get removed from the bracket later. And the original harness fits perfectly to where it needs to go, so it's like they were thinking of this already back in the day. The pump should slide out of its rubber mounting. Sometimes they can get a bit stuck in there and require slipping something between the rubber and the motor to break it free, but that was not the case here. This has obviously been out before for someone to play with, and I know I was one of those someones when I had to free it up and, unseize it. And I did notice that this bracket is actually bent over. That was not done by me. Here's what it's supposed to look like. This is my blue-black 124. You can see it stands up perfectly straight. Otherwise, how would you even access the bolt that is holding it down? So it's just a case of removing the one self-tapping bolt that screws basically straight into the body of the car. And I just wanted to clean out this filth in that area. That is not rust. It is just typical West Australian dirt that gets in absolutely everything. This is basically the same kind of dirt that coats my cars within a week of washing them. Hence why I don't wash them as often as I should, because, it just has to be done over and over. So this is the bracket after it's removed. It's not in the best condition. The rubber is starting to break down, but it will do for now. And that's where you see the original clip for holding the harness has been removed. So I'll clean that up and we can remount that now. Of course, it's not ideal to have the tool on an angle, but I didn't really have a choice. If I can find a better bracket, I will use it. And now I'm just relieving the tension on these hoses so they can twist into a less stressful position. And as long as the pump is held above the water line, you will not lose any coolant. Obviously this method might not work on every variant of 124, especially if there's not much room in the engine bay. We only got 4 and 6 cylinders here, so, well, maybe 5 cylinders. But this works for me. I don't know if you could do this on the V8, possibly not. Basically you just break the vacuum, let the air go in, and the water line drops to the level of the rest of the system. And now you can carefully exchange the pumps over. And of course these clamps, you don't want to do them up too tight. You are only tightening onto plastic. What's not immediately obvious in the video is that when I tighten them, I'm not going ridiculously hard. I may actually have to tighten them again later, after I've checked for leaks. when I take the car for a drive, because obviously it will need to pressurize to tell the real story. I do have a pressurization tool, but hey, I'd rather take the car for a drive, and I probably will this afternoon. And at least I can tell if my Chinese axle shafts are up to the task of a silent drive in a 124. If they're clunky and noisy, well, you're going to hear about it, and I won't be happy. But at this point in time, I don't even have a choice unless someone can give me a set of original axle shafts. So not too tight on these, as I said. I'm not holding the ratchet right at the end of its handle. I'm basically only holding it in the same position I would with a screwdriver. And the benefit to doing it this way is the screwdriver does not slip out. The socket stays positively engaged with the hose clamp screw. And I'm just relieving the tension on that hose so I can get it in the correct angle. I don't want a skewed pump, I want it 100% aligned correctly. And the other hose miraculously was in the right position. And then it's just a case of slipping the pump back into its holder. Now I did wash this rubber holder, that's why I'm drying the water out of it now. If you leave water trapped in there, well, that's just going to rust up the surface of the pump. If this is excessively tight, you could possibly lubricate this with some silicone grease to let the pump slide in easier, but I really didn't have to. It was just a case of manhandling it in there. And I did go the whole way, so the pump is seated against the back side of that rubber holder, and you can twist it around to get the alignment perfect as well. And one last thing, of course, we've got to plug it in. And just check for tightness on my hose clamps once more. So that's the job basically done, but of course I'm not going to stop there. I am going to test it. And for those unaware, this aftermarket cap does actually get this annoying Reen brand tank to seal properly. I'm just going to have to use it for the time being until I get a better one. So let's power the car up on my bench power supply and see what this pump sounds like. Now you can hear that the air has been cleared out of the heating circuit. That's what the strange noises are from the pump. It's air bubbles basically. And for anyone interested, we can see the current draw of the central locking system because what the hell, I've got it connected. Let's lock the car. Interestingly, the vacuum pump continues to run for quite some time on this car after you've locked it. I'm not sure if that's a switch problem or if it's a vacuum issue. As you can see here, the unlocking action is pretty damn quick. I might have to just compare it to my other car.